Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Creating Surfaces Quickly in Creo Parametric. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Operations for 3HTI, and today I am joined with Andrew Leedy, who is an Applications Engineer with PTC. So what we're going to do today is we're hopefully going to get everything done in about 20 to 25 minutes, have just a quick overview and demonstration of a couple of capabilities within Creo 4.0, and also within Creo 3.0, a product called Freestyle, which allows you to basically take a primitive shape of a cube or a sphere and model that particular geometry into complex surfaces and geometries very easily. And then when you need to get more detail or have some more intelligence behind your model is where the interactive surface design extension comes in. So we're going to take a look at both of those today. Real quick, one of the reasons why Creo can do this is because back in, I believe it was 2008, PTC had purchased a direct modeling software from Hewlett-Packard, and that software was called CoCreate. And what they did was they wrote the code for CoCreate onto the Granite kernel, which runs Pro Engineer, which basically gives you direct modeling capabilities within a parametric setting. So that is why PTC had changed the name from Pro Engineer to Creo, which is the Latin word meaning to create, when Creo was first introduced. So I hope that explanation makes sense, and if you haven't heard it before, I hope it's good information. So at this time, I'm going to pass everything over to Andrew. Andrew, you have the con.
Okay, thank you. That was a very good introduction. So as you said, my name is Andrew Leedy. I'm going to be doing a quick introduction of the Freestyle and the ISDX extensions. Robert, can you see my screen there?
I absolutely can.
Okay, awesome. So let's get started then. So just to give an introduction to Freestyle, I'd first like to start off with a few challenge slides, what we are hearing from our customers and why they might want to be using Freestyle within Creo. And one of those is that creating stylized geometry is complex, it's time consuming. It's not just as simple as extrude this, cut this, round this out. You might need a different tool. CAD surface modeling also typically requires a high level of user skill and expertise, especially to other CAD sources other than Creo that we've seen. Adding complexity of a shape or surface just drastically increases the difficulty of designing it, and we want this process to be a lot easier. There also is wasted time recreating data between our concept and detailed design. So sometimes we might have an artist working in one area, an engineer working in a different system. There could be a loss of data or just in time moving between the different systems, having to redo some of that work. We also need to create and evaluate more designs during our concept design. So I not only want to be able to make sure that I make a manufacturable product and a product that looks good, I want to make sure that this is fast so I can try out different things a lot quicker and get some new ideas out. So that's just a quick introduction into where we're coming from with Creo Parametric Freestyle surfacing. So that is going to be a surfacing technique within Creo to produce fast freeform shapes. And this is just one surfacing technique within Creo. So some of the capabilities of this are that we get some fast creation of freeform shapes and surfacing using something called subdivisional modeling capabilities. And you can see what that would look like on that left hammer there. So this hammer was built with this technique, and you can see all those different nodes, those edges, the faces that come with it. But how does this work? How do we get there? Well, first, as Rob said, we start off with a primitive shape. We start off with something like a sphere, a cylinder, a square. It's basically like a ball of clay. And then we're just going to simply go and start manipulating the faces, the edges, the vertices. So grab this area, raise it up, grab this area, cut into it, make some very fast modifications without having to worry about the exact parametric design that's going to be behind that. This is very ideal for industrial designers and surfacing novices. So it's intuitive, easy to build the surfaces. Freestyle actually comes base with Creo, so you don't even have to have an extension to get the capabilities of this. And what you're getting is production quality, curvature continuous surfaces. So we're not just building junk that someone is going to have to recreate to manufacture this model. Once you've gone through and made the surface, you can simply solidify it, you can thicken it, whatever you need to do to make your product manufacturable. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like with a quick demonstration. So we're going to be working with a swing arm for a motorcycle. So we're going to start where a lot of concept designs start, just a picture. So one of my designers might have sent me a sketch of what they want the swing arm to look like. I can bring that in as a 2D graphics image within Creo. So simply go to my working directory, find out where that image is, and then place and scale it to the rest of my model. So what we're using here is something called a trace sketch. So I'm just bringing in a 2D image, planting it on whatever plane I can best see it to work on my model, and then I can use that as a starting point for my freestyle shape. So once we place where it's going to be, we can easily scale that, and then that will bring it so that I have something to start working with here. So now we can utilize freestyle. As I said, the idea is that we're going to start with some primitives, and there's going to be open primitives, which are just going to be basically flat, or closed primitives, which are going to be, sphere, a full 3D cube in this case. And then I just want to start grabbing on faces, resizing this, dragging and pulling on different edges to get to the desired shape that I was talking about. As we said, it's basically a ball of clay. I'm just forming this in a very free and concept approach. So I can add in some extra faces, I can add edges on the fly, I can manipulate different nodes. In this case, we're just going to be adding in some extra extrudes so that we can get the general shape of that trace image that we brought in. So adding in all those different sections so that we have a little bit more to work with. I can always go through, I can define if these edges are going to be hard, soft. If I want to make an extrude off of a face, I'm able to do that. So now we have a rounded extrude. If I mirror this across the plane, we can actually see that it's going to connect it all up on the other side. So now if I would make a modification on one side, we can actually have it reflected across that mirror plane. So just going through and doing everything very intuitively. What do I need to do to get to that desired concept or that desired sketch that I brought in? So I'm not worrying about any of the parametrics here. I'm just simply box selecting on a bunch of different nodes I want to work with, or selecting on one node and an edge, whatever I need to do to get to that sketch. So now we have the general shape of this. It's all about fine tuning at this point. Do I want to round off the front? Do I want to add in some creases? Do I want to make some clearance room, navigating to different views and different planes? In this case, going to the top plane and making sure that we can drag those in the proper orientation. I can actually lock things into a certain orientation if I want to using the coordinate system. So again, whatever I need to do to get to that concept sketch that I brought in. It's a very free form type of design here. As I was talking about, at any point we can also add edges on the fly. So especially with Creo 4, we've added the ability just to draw in some edges. But what came with Creo 3 and before was the ability to do face splits. So if I grab a bunch of different faces, I could just simply add in a face split and get some edges built on the fly using some of those, the geometry I've already built in. And then with those face splits, we might want to go a little bit deeper, get some extra detail added in. Might want to do an extrude off of this, and I can always use that extrude to either cut in, move out, but you get the picture here. This is very just free. I'm just dragging, pulling, very intuitive design approach here. If I want to go through and from this design, I might want some very soft edges so that we have a nice shape here. I can finish out my freestyle shape. So now we've completed this. The last step is I might want to solidify it, or I might want to thicken it. So we've gone from having a surface, having that freestyle shape, which only brought in a surface, to now having a full Creo part that I can go through and do regular Creo modifications to. So if we go back in, maybe I want to remove my sketch first before I do anything else, I can actually add in some Creo features here. So this was that surface feature that I solidified. I can go through and add in a round if it's connecting up to another piece. So we're not just restricted to doing those free form different designs with it. Once I've built this and put it out there, I can do just regular Creo work. So that's just a quick look at freestyle. It's a very free form way of going through the design. Now, just to recap here on what we saw, there's a lot of value we can see in having a feature like this. And one of those being that fast freeform modeling via the subdivisional surfacing. So being able to just take that ball of clay and work with it, do a design very quickly, build out something without having to worry about what features are going to define it, how those features are going to react to each other. Is it even going to be possible to build out a feature in the way that I want to do it? And with Creo 4, we've added the ability to bring in OBJ files that actually have this subdivisional model, those subnodes brought in. So if I have something created in Rhino, I save it off as an OBJ, bring it into Creo. Now I can continue working with that concept model. And this really allows for the rapid creation and change of stylized surface geometry. So try all those new things very fast. Drag this, push this, etc. And this is going to be an integral concept, freeform, and technical surfacing tool. As I said, it comes with base Creo. And this is just one type of surfacing we have in Creo, and they're all going to work together. This is just another thing in the toolbox to use if it's going to be faster or better in a certain use case. And the best part about everything is that it's Creo parametric. So that's going to be that suite of tools to create any geometry to solve any design problems. So all my designs can be done within Creo now. So that was a quick introduction into freestyle. I'd like to move on to ISDX now. Just give me 1 second to pull up that information.
So if anybody has any questions during the webinar, feel free to type those in to the dashboard, and we will answer them as we go along, or we'll definitely answer them at the end.
Yes, I'd definitely be happy to do that. So going on, the interactive surface design extension is going to be another freeform and technical surfacing tool within our Creo toolbox. And again, just to give an introduction to that, I'd like to go over some of the industry challenges that we currently see, and some of them are going to be very similar to our freeform or our freestyle there. And one of those, the main one being surfacing is hard. It's easy to create that extreme revolve, but those more complex surfacing features can be extremely difficult. And a lot of times, concept design happens outside of engineering, can't deal with that disconnect whenever we're trying to go from our concept to parametric modeling. And specifically with the ISDX extension, a lot of our concept design actually happens outside of Creo, not even just outside of engineering. So there are a lot of good tools for concept design. When I go to my engineer, he may have to start over and redesign this within Creo or another CAD tool. Those different concept tools such as Rhino that I was talking about earlier. We want to be able to work with those models that we bring in, and we want to do models that are like that. And all this matters because cosmetics look good for our product. We worry because looks matter. And that is where we're coming from with our interactive surface design extension. That's going to be an extension inside of Creo specifically for surfacing. This is going to be a little bit different than the freestyle. It is a very, like that though, it is an intuitive and flexible surfacing tool. So it's easy to use, and there are a lot of things we can do with it. It's going to combine our freeform and technical surfacing in a single environment, because I want to be able to do both of these. In some cases, I might like that freeform shape, but in other cases, I want to be able to define a surface very technically, very parametrically. And this really allows users to develop compelling design variations very quickly. So I can see what works best for my model and make changes fast. So some of the capabilities of this are that we're able to design precise curves and surfaces to achieve highly engineered manufacturable products. It's not good enough to just say that something looks good. I need to actually be able to build it. That's the entire purpose of modeling all this in CAD. And I can confidently explore different design variations, leveraging off direct curve and surface editing capabilities. So play with those different things. Set certain areas to be designed parametrically, or set them to be freeform. So, and the end goal is, of course, to create products that look better, sell better, and get to market faster. Now, who is this for? Well, one being concept and industrial engineers. So anyone who is going to be doing the early concept work for our products. But not only that, it's for the engineers and designers and people who might not even be surfacing experts. So people who are just running Creo but need a good cosmetic shape. So let's take a look at what this extension would look like as well. So for this demonstration of the extension, we're going to be working with this shaver here. So we have a lot of the basic parts laid out, some of the key pieces for this shaver, and I want to build a surface that is going to go all around and act as the where you're actually going to hold my razor. So again, I'm going to start with some artwork here. So quite often in concept design, that's what we're going to have. So we can bring that in, again, utilizing Creo, just bring that JPEG in and set it to wherever we're going to be modeling this design out. So this just gives us that good starting point to work with. Of course, we don't have to start with this. We can just do our concept modeling without having an image like this, but it gives us a good starting point, something that we can reference here. So in this case, might want to be working in a lot of different planes. Might have to bring 2 images in this time. So let's go into ISDX and build out a surface now. So ISDX is all about adding in curves and surfaces that are going to be driven by those curves. So the first thing we're going to do is just start throwing in some basic curves that might define the outer shell of this design. And then once we have a basic framework, go through and manipulate that. So I might want a curve that's going to define the top and the bottom of my shaver. And then I want to go through, work with those different points I had, and select how they're actually going to work and communicate with those different references I had set up. So if I have a curve on the end, I might want to have it set to be tangent. I want to be normal. I might want to just make it freeform, whatever's going to be best for my current design. We can go through and do a lot of analysis on this too. If I want to go through and see some curvature plots to see specifically how smooth my curves are going to be as I go through and do this analysis and design, I can very well do that. Now that we've done the bottom or the top, maybe we want to go down to the bottom, tweak that likewise, always have control over how it's going to communicate with those end constraints, and then just go through and tweak the rest of the curve so that it lines up with our concept sketch. And it doesn't have to match the sketch exactly, but it's nice to have that concept to work with here. So in the style, we can also add in an automatic for view. So it's nice to be able to design in this one dimensional look, or just looking at it from a certain view. But I also I might want to make a curve that's more 3D. I want to be able to see how it's going to react on all those different planes. So this allows me to have an ISO, a front, a left, so forth, whatever views I want to use. So it makes it really easy to edit and see what is changing whenever I add in some new curves. So you can very well see, as I design in the one plane on the top left, you can see that curve being built out in all those other views. So I can go through and on the fly, without having to manipulate my model and rotate around and get to the exact look I need, I can just start grabbing those curves very fast in those different views and see how it's reacting and making sure that on every dimension I'm going to be designing in, that's going to work out for me. So I might want to just finish out the curves on the end, and the 4-panel view really helps this. Again, I don't have to rotate my view around to be able to see how that curve is going to be reacting. I just go down straight to that, lock ourselves into a certain perspective, and then move back and forth if needed. So once we've defined our curves, now I want to be able to build some surfaces. So that's the end goal here. So I've already defined a few curves that are going to define the outer shell of my model here. So we can hide that image since we don't really need it anymore. I've already got the basic layout here. And then adding in surfaces is as simple as just selecting on a bunch of boundary curves and then selecting how I want the surface to interact at each of those different points. So do I want it to be, again, normal, tangent? Do I want there to be a draft? And if you notice that we have over near our model tree, we actually have a style tree as well. So that's where we're going to be able to keep all of our surfaces and curves, and that's where we're going to be storing them away there. And then they're going to be saved as one style feature within my actual model tree. So at this point, I might want to add in an extra curve that's going to define my surface. So not only are we restricted to being able to, or we're not just restricted to using those initial curves that we set the surface up. I can actually just add some more curves on the fly and have it define the outer shape of my entire surface. Again, being able to utilize that 4-panel view really helps us build this curve out very fast. I can mirror that control and curve across our front plane to make this surface symmetrical. I can always be looking at those curvature plots to see how smooth this is and make adjustments. I might want to duplicate that curve to add more control further down. It's up to me really what level of detail and complexity I want to be putting in here. So once we have those different curves defined, let's finish out our surface. So I have those new curves. Not only drive the curvature of our surface, but also drive the bottom of our shaver as well. So we've gone back, added in those curves to define the top shell. Now I can utilize those to drive the bottom as well. And all we're doing is just choosing those boundaries of our surface, and Creo is going to fill in the rest for us based off of those end restrictions I give, those transitions that I set up. Do I want it to be normal, tangent, draft? And then I'm just finishing out, selecting more curves. Maybe I want it to be curvature, and just finishing out the rest of my model. To finish out here, we can utilize another different analysis tool that we have to inspect our surface. So something like a zebra plot for reflection will really allow us to investigate those transitions to see how smooth our surface really is. So we have a lot of different tools to help further this design and make some improvements. So now we built the outer shape of our shell. Now it's up to me, do I want to thicken this? Do I want to solidify it? Whatever I need to do to make this manufacturable. So then we can just put it back and see it in the context of my entire assembly. Now, the last thing to note here is that this is Creo. So if I make a change, my surface is going to update. Everything is going to be associative. So I'm not in some separate surfacing tool. Everything is going to be connected. So if I change an angle that's defining how I had originally set up some of the end constrictions on those original curves, it's going to adjust the entire surface to reflect that. No need to have to go back and do any redesign. So just to wrap that up as well, just to recap, what we're getting with ISDX is really an extension that's increasing engineering productivity and efficiency. So I want my designs to be easy to make, I want them to be easy to modify, and especially if I have a complex part, because we want to be dealing with having more options, more concepts, put out those new ideas a lot faster and develop those ideas further. And the end result is we're getting some high quality, aesthetically pleasing products, and that is the goal, and I want this to be done fast. So that's basically ISDX in a nutshell. I think we can open up to questions, or if you just want to pass it back off to you, Rob, it's a possibility here too.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for that excellent and detailed presentation and overview on ISDX and freestyle. I am going to take control back. So if you have any questions at this time, feel free to type those into the dashboard. And if you do not have any questions at this time and you think of something later, feel free to contact us. You can contact me directly. There's my information. Or an easier email to remember is info, I-N-F-O, at 3hti.com. You can also just hit reply to your webinar invitation. That will come directly to me also.